Welcome back to Morning Joy, where truth matters. I am your host, Keith Downey, and very pleased and excited to announce and invite our guest this morning, Marilis Peneiro, also known as Nun on the Run on social media. Good morning, Marilis. How are you?
Good morning, Keith. I'm doing great. How are you?
Still on my first cup of coffee, so we'll get better soon. I'm just kidding. Well, thank you for joining us. Now, it's funny. We've already talked about this in the past, but your screen name or your handle, Nun on the Run, I feel like that gives one or two responses. Like, what? An on the run? What? So maybe give us a quick, synopsis of that handle.
Yeah, so Excellent on the Run is because I discerned religious life for 8 years. I was in the convent with a Franciscan community, discerned that it wasn't God's calling for me before final vows. So I did leave and return to the world. That was, goodness, it'll be 5 years ago this March.
Wow.
And almost immediately after leaving, I didn't know what to do with my life. I decided to walk the Camino de Santiago, completely unplanned. I'm not a hiker. I'm not outdoorsy, but I didn't know what to do with myself. And so I went to Lourdes and ended up starting from Lourdes. And it actually ended up being a Camino to Fatima. So I went to St. James' Tomb in Santiago de Compostela in Spain, and then decided to keep walking to Fatima. So it was very much a Marian Camino. But while I was on the Camino, I met two Franciscan friars of the Renewal and a deacon friend of theirs. And it was me and these three middle-aged men walking the Camino, and people started calling us the two friars, a deacon, and Nun on the Run. And that was where the handle came from.
Wow. What a place to start in having those different types of pilgrimages, I would call it.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned, interesting enough, you entered a Franciscan order, which was, the previous question of the day, which was really kind of funny. But you worked at the very heart of the Catholic Church. Maybe explain to us. So you served a couple of people that maybe some people might know.
Yeah, so I mean, when you enter religious life, I made temporary vows after going through the novitiate, and shortly after temporary vows, I was transferred to the Vatican. And so when the Mother Superior told me I was going to be going, I said, what am I going to be doing? And she said, you'll see when you get there, but you may have heard rumors, because it was before it was announced, you may have heard rumors that the Holy Father is going to be traveling to the United States. And that was all I got. And so that was essentially what my first year there ended up being, was serving the Holy Father and preparing for his apostolic visit to the United States, and getting to be a part of that visit, which was, in hindsight, I'm like, how did that happen? And it was only supposed to be a 1-year long assignment, but the nuncio at the time, Archbishop Vigano, asked if I could extend it another year. And then after that, he asked if I could extend it again until after the rest of his time as nuncio was up. So definitely got to meet a whole slew of people that I never imagined I'd get to be around or interact with, and learn so much about the church. And yeah, it was definitely a gift of a time. It's impacted every aspect of who I am and my, faith today.
Wow, that's incredible to work with two very large names, Pope Francis and Archbishop Vigano. Kind of different stark personalities. What was it like serving them both?
For sure. They were both, in their own ways, very fatherly and gentle. I could describe both. The Holy Father, I was so young. I was in my early 20s. I was, I think, 23, 24 when that assignment began, and had no idea what I was doing. But very much was myself. I just kind of rolled with it. And yeah, they were both just so gentle, so patient, very fatherly. The Holy Father would often cup my face. And Archbishop Vigano was the same way, so prayerful. So prayerful. Yeah.
That's incredible. I love to hear that. It's always nice to hear. Now you discerned out. Um,
I
I guess,
did.
and today in 2024, why is it important to talk about vocations?
Well, I think we only ever talk about, at least when I was growing up, you only ever see marriage. I didn't see religious sisters growing up. I grew up in New York City, at least not habited ones. Even though I had sisters in my school, I didn't put two and two together. Um, but just to see that religious life, the vocation to religious life is very much a gift. And even if there's an inkling there, which is what it started off for me as, it was just kind of this curiosity that just kept growing and growing until finally realizing I need to see if this is where God is calling me. And the only way to find out is to kind of just bite the bullet and go for it because it was just such a persistent thing that kept coming up in my prayer life.
Mm,
And and I think because it was, I went to Catholic University for college and it was very much an open thing on campus, seeing sisters and religious
mm,
all over campus, it helped to foster the desire to keep praying about it and to be open about it and to not really have that pressure of I need to know my vocation right now, but really
mm.
just taking it one step at a time of this is maybe where God might be calling you and it's okay if it's not. And that was also part of why I catch my handle X Not on the Run, because it does lead people to ask questions of what do you mean you still are Catholic? What do you mean you still love the faith? What do you mean you still practice? And because I think in our minds we have this stigma of you tried it out and it didn't work out and you must hate the church now, which is not at all the case for me. And I think it's not the case for many people, but we only ever hear the bad parts, right?
Mm.
And so, yeah, it's only a gift, even if it isn't and doesn't end up being what God called you to, like it did for me. It was very much just such a gift of a time, and I still continue to see the graces of it reaping in my life to this day. And I'm sure I will till He calls me home to heaven.
Yeah, wow. Um, so what would you say would be an ideal age to look into like a religious vocation?
I think it really varies per person. Um, I do very much encourage, especially in this day and age, at least to go to college for a year or two. Like I would say don't enter out of high school. But I don't want to like stop a future Saint Therese from going either. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I think it really just varies. But I do very much encourage, a year or two of college, and if not, at least working in the world and having experience in the world, and while seeking to be formed and discerning the community or discerning what religious life is, visiting orders, etc., things like that, praying
Mm,
with the sisters or brothers of that order.
mm.
And then if that pull still is there to discuss more seriously with the community, um, possible possibly entering. But I would say, yeah,
Okay.
after high school for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think
Yeah,
for parents too, it's important to kind of expose the different types of vocations, early on.
yeah.
That there, there's,
Hmm.
formed.org has many shows, children's shows that talk about different vocations. So just kind of, letting the Lord speak to them and in that manner is helpful. Then, like you said, they'll have that on their minds, maybe as they're going to college. So
Yeah.
very, very great advice. Um,
And
so
sorry, can I
yeah,
just add
yeah.
to not panic or get overly excited if your child expresses that they might have a vocation? That it's just to like try to be calm about it.
That's a great point. Yeah, maybe you have some parents that are Catholic, maybe they're maybe Catholic by culture, and they want their children to be married.
Hmm.
And then now there's this pressure on
Right.
the child that like, oh, my parents really want me to get married. They want me to have grandkids, but I really have this calling to, serve my Lord in another
Yeah.
way. So yeah, I think for
Hmm.
parents, try not to pressure marriage so much would probably be my advice. But it's great having you on the show here, Marilis. Now you're always welcome to jump in the
Thank
after
you.
show clubhouse if you're available to.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if you're
Thank you.
yeah, And listeners, if you're out there and maybe you can't make the after show clubhouse, or maybe you can, it's a way for you to interact with us and Marilis and others. And it's kind of a more relaxed environment. We can let down our hair a little bit, but it's a way for us to kind of talk, decompress, especially about the whole St. Patrick's Cathedral, the fallout with that. We'll probably talk a little bit more on that. But otherwise, if maybe you're going to listen to Mass, please pray for us. Always could use some prayers. And remember, this Friday, we're announcing the winner of the car raffle for 2024. So stay tuned for that, and stay tuned for our after show clubhouse. And a quick reminder as well, if maybe you're just viewing GRN online from YouTube or Facebook, we're also on Instagram. We're also live streaming the show on Instagram now, which is wild, and on X, formerly known as Twitter. We're streaming from that as well. So there's so many places now. We're all over the social media. Really started be getting more and more over the course of the month, but giving you more options to choose from. Maybe though you're giving up screen time, which for Lent, that's actually, that's very admirable, and I should probably do that. But if you are, you can always stream from GRN's website. So that's just simple grnonline.com. grnonline.com, and you can stream directly from the web browser, or you can download the mobile app. I know it's kind of screen time, but you're not actually watching the screen. You're putting your phone down. Maybe you're plugging it into your car as you're driving. Another great way to listen to shows like Morning Joy, A Life Lived Joyfully, and of course, The Spirit World with angel specialist Debbie Georgiani and religious demonologist Adam Bly. So many great ways to listen and support Catholic radio, which is another thing I was encouraging, to just listen primarily to Catholic radio for Lent. But if this is you departing, we'll see you bright and early tomorrow, but hang tight because we're going to be on the After Show Clubhouse. So God bless and make it a joyful day. We'll see you right soon.
This has been Morning Joy, where truth matters, hosted by Keith Downey. Take some joy with you today. Visit grnonline.com/joy to listen again, share a segment, or answer the question of the day. That's grnonline.com/joy.